I'm Warnie, Virginia Adams Bell. And of course, I'm a retired teacher, and I've taught for 30 years, and that involved K through junior college. I've also had a class at Winter Haven Hospital, also. Yes, intellectual disabilities. I grew up, well, partly I was from about 1 until about 12 years old, around Lake Maud. And in my mind, it flashes. I remember being on our front porch, and my mother was on the front porch also. And I remember her. And also, I have a remembrance of my father uh, picking me up, taking me to his store because I had been eating fish and I think I got a bone in my throat. And he took me to the store, I think, to give me some cookies to sort of get the bone to go down or whatever it was going to do. So I have fond memories of my entire family. There were 5 of us. Yes, 5 of us. 3 girls and 2 boys. Mm-hmm. And the story is, though, is that when my father he got married, he wanted to have kids. But if you're a teacher, and my mother was a teacher also, if you're a teacher, you can't be missing too many days from school, or you can't, be pregnant, have an accident. So they didn't really want teachers to have kids. So my father did go to court, and he did he got an order that he could have children, and he had 5. My father was a businessman, of course, and I don't know how long he had been in Winter Haven, but Publix wanted him to be the manager of Publix store, but he decided to build his own store, and that's what he did. So, he ran his store for years. So, he was a businessman all in every aspect. Uh-huh. And of course, like I said, if we needed something, he provided it, you know? And he was a great father, man who believed in God. And we read the Bible at the dinner table, took turns reading the Bible at the dinner table. So, and the other important thing is my father only went as far as the 3rd grade. But he owned apartments, he owned his store, and he came from a family of 10 brothers and sisters. So, yeah, so I knew about, I guess you could say, survival and taking care of yourself. And as far as I know, all of his brothers and sisters, they did well. The only thing I can tell you is that the community we grew up in, it was, I guess you could say, segregated. It was mostly all black, or it was all black, and we knew our neighbors. We got along well, all that kind of thing. And the second home we lived in, my father bought it right there in Florence Villa. And that section was, segregated also. And I don't know if it was deliberate, but people just, it was a black community. And we enjoyed it. Of course, there was Jewett Elementary School. That's where I attended school, and that's where my mother was a teacher. She was there. And so we could walk to school and back, and it was nice. My godmother also taught there. Yes, she taught there also. So it was nice, no problems. We grew up just regular kids. Uh, and eventually, of course, going to, I believe it was the 7th grade, 6th or 7th grade, we ended up going to Jewett High School. Yeah. hmm And all of us graduated from high school. All of us have attended college, degrees, yeah, and that kind of thing. And I could say it was fairly easy for us because we had good examples. My mother and father, they were good examples, to follow. And because my father was the kind of inspiration that he was, we grew up working in the store. We grew up saving money, you know, and that kind of thing. And so we learned responsibility. And we also, especially girls, we took turns cooking breakfast. We were up at 6 o'clock every morning. Oh, yeah. And it was pretty easy because it was a regular thing. And so we had responsibilities. We worked. We always tried to do whatever our mother and father requested of us. So it was not what you say a hard road to follow. When you have a good example and everything is done in love, then, you know, no problems. So, and not that my father wasn't serious. He was a serious man. All he had to do was speak. That's it. All he had to do was speak. And of course, we listened, we obeyed, we went to Sunday school. The church was right crisscross from our home. So we did go to church, you know, worship and so forth. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I said, we had many responsibilities. We grew up having a garden. Yeah. We had chickens at one time. Um, so, that I observed my mother and grandfather and mother and grandmother, how you kill a chicken, you know, and maybe you wring his neck or something like that. So I don't know. We just grew up with things. It wasn't on a farm or anything, but still, we had a garden, we had chickens, and we always had a pet. And obviously, my father liked dogs. We had dogs as pet. I think once we did have a cat, you know. Uh-huh. But the dogs were obedient dogs. They were smart dogs. One of them was a collie. Yes. And then the first one we had, my father referred to him as a police dog. Might have been a boxer or something like that. Uh-huh. Yeah. So, we did quite well, and I can appreciate that, you know. And of course, when you do have examples of what you should do, it makes it easier for a child to catch on and follow. It does. I would say, honor thy father and thy mother. That's the one thing. We grew up respecting our parents, and we grew up loving and caring for each other, you know. And if you will pay attention, like pay attention in school, you can learn from other people. You really can. But you will have to focus on what you're doing. You can learn to appreciate what you learn. Um, Because I learned how to count, it's no problem for me to count now, you see. Saving money, that might be a little more difficult because you have to be able to have some left over in order to save. Now, on occasion, I've tried to save. You know how people stuff coins in these jars and that kind of thing. Occasionally, I've done that. But if I needed something, I know how to save to get it. Else I wouldn't have gotten a house, you know. So, in fact, this is the second house I've owned. The first one I bought. Then I prefer living closer to my background, you know. So I built another home, and I'm almost done paying for it. God's will. But, you learn how to work for something, and you learn that you have certain skills, certain qualities that you can apply in life that you have learned from growing up as a child. And first of all, I have to say, first of all, uh, you, um, accept God, as your savior. And I see how government is concerned about people believing in God, whether or not they should believe in God on this job, believe in God doing this and that. Well, to me, believing in God does not deter your service from being whatever you've been chosen to be, whether you're president of the United States, secretary, whether you are a business person or whatever, because it gives you the guidelines to go by. If you want to be successful, you do what is good and best. And that's what I go by. I really do. Because when you're troubled about something, who's going to help you? God is. You know, you don't have to go and do something wrong just to make things work out. You trust God. You do the best you can, and God will reward you for that. And that's what I rely on. I relied on God myself. But I find that when your faith is tested, first of all, if you feel you've done something that's unacceptable to God, you talk to God about it. You ask for forgiveness. And you did what you did either because you had no choice, or you didn't know any better, or you didn't have guidance, you know? So, as the Bible says, we'll all come short and fall, short and sin in one way or another. And you ask that forgiveness from God, you talk to God. And God is the one that can give you solace, you see. And God is the one where you can accept yourself. And when you um try to please God, I think that's where you'll be more successful in life. And you'll also feel better too. Don't condemn yourself. You talk to God about it and you ask His forgiveness. That's the way I see it. Like I said, I think that you should show respect. And if you want respect, you give respect. If a person doesn't understand what respect is, maybe you should explain it to them. And of course, children especially should show respect because that's gonna determine how well you are successful in the future. Now, success isn't just money, it's not just money. It's having confidence in yourself. It's believing in yourself. It's trusting in yourself to make good decisions. It's showing concern for your neighbor, showing love for people and not hating people for no reason at all, you know. And you have to do certain things if you want to make it in this world. You really have to do that. But most of all, you will be judged by God. And if you stay close to God, you can hear what He wants you to do. You can hear it. And if He's displeased, you will know that too. Because it's kind of like you reap what you sow, you know? You reap what you sow. And I think that your life is always more peaceful when you are guided by God. Now, I believe that wholeheartedly. Mm. First of all, I'm thankful for Winter Haven being my home and living here all these years. Um, I think about my sisters and going off in different places. I have a sister that lives in Kalamazoo, Michigan, one that lives in Atlanta, Georgia. My daughter lives in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, I feel safer at home, a place that I already know. I don't feel like I need to go somewhere where I've got to learn the place all over and hope that the friends I meet are good people. I don't think that I need to go through that. So this is why I stayed right here in my hometown. And I always say, if I needed to go downtown where you can buy different things, I could walk down there if I had to, you know? So I don't want anyone to do me harm. I'm not going to do anybody else any harm. So I don't want to do anybody any harm or don't want them to do me harm. So I stayed here. They can call it what they want. Yes, I am what they call it. I'm shy to a point, but at the same time, well, and I do have faith. My daughter always tell me, Mom, you trust in God, you don't live in fear. No, I don't live in fear, but I use my head. That's the way I see it. I try to do what's best all the way around, and anybody else who is strong enough or whatever they think they can do, they can go wherever they want to go. But I choose Winter Haven. And I think Winter Haven is progressing quite well. And we are blessed. If you notice, we didn't get a whole lot of damage in Winter Haven from storms and so forth. Mm. I think people get along pretty well in Winter Haven. And I have to say, our communities are mixed, you know, and mixing more and more. But everybody still seems to get along. And I hope they continue, you know? Mhm.